All right, nobody worry. Aaron is here. Good to see you, Aaron. Ian's back on the 480p resolution camera. I am on the full strength camera.
No way,
dude. You're still fuzzy to me. All right, everybody. I am 2 weeks into an amoxicillin allergy that I did not know I'd ever had. It has consumed my entire body. It is not fun. I almost did not do this podcast today, and I've considered heavily not shooting content tomorrow that I desperately need to get shot. So I'm here. I'm going to show you in all this glory what happens when you have a amoxicillin reaction. Yeah, that's just my face. That's just my face. Wait till I show you what's under the shirt.
Good.
Well, let me show you the arm first. That's one arm.
Man, that's insanity.
Look at this. Now, I know you didn't all come here to see me get naked, so I apologize for that. Kids, make sure you kids clear the room before you start this video. But yeah,
half of the people.
Yeah, I did not know I had an allergic reaction or was allergic to amoxicillin. My doctor's 41 years old. Hey, by the way, and this has been the most annoying thing. Pump full of steroids. So I just lifted like 600 pounds earlier, and I took a burning bus off of some kids. So I saved that. That'll be on YouTube later on my 6th channel, because I'm working on 3 channels now. So that's where we're at, Ian. And then side note, I went to F1 this weekend with this crazy ass rash. And yeah, Ian, how are you doing? Ian's at 50. See, I told you, dude. You need to go tell your wife to stop watching Beckham or whatever she's watching. Dude, I would turn it off and turn it back on, bro. We can't even see you. So bad.
So interesting, because I look really clear on this end. It's a really nice. That is so bad. Watch how clear and I will say this. I will say that while I have seen a lot of people the last couple of weeks really excited, it's definitely, I'm feeling the deflatedness of people right now. They're just not excited about it right now. Interest rates not happening where buyers are struggling. It really just depends on where they are financially. Especially sellers that are.
We didn't hear a word you just said, bro. You literally like cut out every like.
You're lying to me, really?
Yeah. If you heard what
Ian, no way.
Okay, if you just heard what Ian said, right? You heard him. If not, tell him that he needs to get off dial up and move back in from wherever he's at. ianofAustin. Michelle, yes, it looks bad. It feels bad. It is not fun. Yes, I'm naked. This stream is going to be good. You can tell. Well, as Ian is fixing his internet issues, dude, you're still maybe a little better. Speak.
Hello.
Say some words.
Hello. It looks so good on my end.
All right. Well, not on this end. Sorry, dude. All right, so let's get into it. There's a lot to get to. I've wasted 6 minutes of our time talking about my painful rash and Ian's inability to have actual internet. So yes, Aaron's going to restart your computer, bud. I would probably go that route. All right, so I want to get into it. A couple things going on here in the Austin area. Obviously, as Ian said, people are not as super excited. Man, I don't know if it's just the way it's worked out, but we have more buyers going under contract right now than ever. And it's a combination of things. We're finding like really good deals on properties that are already price depressed. And we're going to go over the Fortune article here in a second, because Fortune put out their predictions. And I think a lot of the people are taking advantage of some of the things that we're able to take advantage of are seeing it. But I've also, Jeremy has a real rash. Ian has a pixel rash. Thank you. Thank you, Dinosaur D. Welcome back. What's interesting is I'm seeing some people able to take advantage of the market. What I'm also noticing, and I think I'm going to have to make a full video on the channel. You tell me if this is a good idea for a video for next week or not, is there seems to be, so there's buyers very eager in the market to find a really good property. I mean, I wrote with one client, like we're like 60, 70 grand below list price. Eileen got one under contract well below list price this week with concessions, with getting a new roof. So it's pretty interesting there. But what I'm noticing with some, and it seems like a lot of sellers are just not still too realistic on what's happening in the market. Now, it could be a combination of, they have agents. Like here's the tough thing. And I know I try to talk about agents and say what's happening with agents and what to believe or not to believe with realtors. And, I just did a video today about new builds, but what you'll have as a seller, and this is just kind of sad to me, you'll have agents that really, really want listings and really need listings and really need business that will kind of tell you what you should price your house at, not necessarily because that's where it should price, but because they'll want the listing. I'll tell you this is like, so if I look at a property, let's say it's should list and sell right now in this market, which is kind of depressed at 500,000. And I say, look, guys, you need to list it at 500, maybe slightly below, and expected concessions because that's what we're seeing in the market. Look, here's the 6 homes that have closed next to you, and they all gave between 5 and 15,000 in concessions to the buyer. So you could do buyer buy downs, things like that. The contract Eileen just wrote got below list price concessions and a new roof all written into the contract. But then you have sellers that go, well, Jeremy, you're saying 500 plus concessions. This agent's telling me I can list it for 525 and sell it for 525. Okay. And I'm like, well, that's good. And I'll tell them exactly what I'm telling you. Like, did they show you the data? Did you agree on the data? And then they go, yeah, we agree with them 525. And then I see it sitting on the market 3, 4, 5 months, and then their price dropping it down to 475 and it's still sitting there. And so I think there's some unrealisticness there. And that's partly, I don't think that's necessarily always a seller's fault. I know everybody wants to blame sellers, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I just think, when you sell a home, it's such an emotional process and such an emotional thing, and it's a lot of money, and you're tied up into that money. So there's a lot of hope that we're going to get this much for the house and expectation, and then there's reality. And then when you mix what's happening in the reality in the market right now, you have an issue where the things just don't match. And so I think, why you see so many price reductions, I think is a multitude of things right now. And I do want to go through the Bloomberg article in a second, but I want to show you some things here because this is just what I'm seeing in the market is when you look at all the price reductions that happen on a weekly basis. So this is what we look at pretty much every week. I did this on a 7-day average, 999 homes listed. Let me a little bit more so you can actually see this. There you go. So there you go. See, that's better. Okay. 990 homes listed in the last 7 days, 1,800 price decreased. I did the numbers earlier and it was, I think, 12,400 homes on the market. You do the math. What's the percent of homes? That's 1,800 homes divided by 1,200 on the market. That's like 16%. If my dumb math serves me right, something around there. 16%. No, it's got to be more than that. 25% would be of 100. So yeah, 16% are price decreasing. That's still quite a bit for the market. But if you notice, pending and under contracts, only like 700, not barely scratching 700. So we have more homes actually listing right now than are going under contract and pending. Yet you still have almost 400 pulling off the market with withdrawals, expireds, and holds. So those withdrawals, expireds, and holds are people that heard those agents tell them that, yeah, your home should sell for this, and then it didn't get there, or maybe they overpriced it, or whatever the reasons. What do you think, Ian? Are you back from timeout?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, barely.
Okay. So I think like I said, there's a disparity between what sellers are pricing at and what buyers are expecting to pay. But then there's still that third element, which we talk about this all the time it's how are the realtors pricing it based on the information they do or don't have. And so if they're looking at comps and those comps are 2 months old, it really makes it difficult to price those properties. And especially when you've got these agents that didn't have experience pricing properties properly prior to the pandemic.
Says, yes, describing Opendoor at the moment. One of my neighborhood is starting out at 550K and is down to 379, 100%.
370. Wow.
Yeah. Pro tip, if you change the stream quality to 144, Jeremy is cashless. Looks like he has a 10. So yeah, so I mean, and the other thing that I saw and I read on that is interesting, but I don't think is necessarily something I'm overly worried about, is the amount of homes coming back on the market from under contract. There was an article out that was saying at the end of last year, 16% of homes came off the market or came back on the market from under contract. So I had a lot of those. I mean, at the end of this last year, crushed our business reality wise. We had like 7 or 8 new constructions. Everybody just quit. They were like, I'm done. The interest rates are going up. Now in hindsight, in a lot of what we told them is like, let's renegotiate the price down as low as we can. Yeah, you're going to get an interest rate at that time was 5.5%. Yeah, we're going to get it. And we were getting like slash deals. Like I had one under contract at 500. They were giving us 450. I had another one under contract at 550. They were giving us 475. They backed that down and it was going to be a 5.5% interest rate. So, I mean, I wish some of those people would have stayed in. They probably would have been in much better situations, but I want to get into this article. Go ahead.
There are a few variables there, right? Like, so some of these people, do you know if any of these people that lost out on those opportunities, did they end up leaving? Or are they still here renting? Or did they end up having to sacrifice square footage for a home? Like what ended up happening in those particular instances?
Most are out of the market completely. One decided to go to a different state, and which that was the one I complained about last week. I'm gonna have to put this on. I can't look at my face. That's too tight. One is back under contract or went back under contract. One renegotiated. So
it's kind of all over the place.
I would say, I think out of the 8, only 2 we worked with. So, I mean, it's quite a bit. There we go. Whew. Good thing I went to the Cayenne in Vale. Man, that looks terrible too. All right. Ian, I'm dying over here, man. Okay. Let's talk about this Goldman Sachs article and what's happening with that. So Goldman Sachs came out with their, what was that?
Can you pull up the article itself?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that right now. Let's get us right here. Oh, this doesn't put you on there. Right here. No, Ian's gone. See you, Ian. There we go. Okay. Let me widen this guy out a little bit. That'll help. There we go. Okay. So here's a Goldman Sachs. This is reported by Fortune. Here's what Goldman Sachs is saying is Goldman just dropped a housing market forecast for 2024. It seems high home prices, high mortgage rates, and the lowest number of existing home sales since 1990. We're in the 2000s. It's really tough. Here's kind of like the overview highlights of this. I'm going to go through. Ian, I'll let's bounce back and forth on the numbers. I'll hit 1, you hit 2 if you're not lagging too bad. One thing that we're going to see here on this article is that we are going to see a continuous rise in home prices is what Fortune is predicting. So home prices have consistently increased since the start of the pandemic, which we've seen, even as mortgage rates have more than doubled from 3% to 8%. Despite a collapse in buying activity, home prices continue to go up. And I'll let you jump on to the second one here, Ian.
So you're talking about, let's see, it doesn't see as an ounce of relief in sight for buyers. That's kind of interesting because I think we had the expectation that there was going to be a little bit of relief coming. Everybody was hoping there was going to be relief coming, and basically slapping us and saying, wake up, silly. We're not having it.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, that's what I was talking about while you were lagging, is that you know, some sellers too just aren't necessarily being uber realistic on what the market is. So they're not dropping their price. I mean, we offered a lot less on some properties, and there was not even a like consideration back. And we had one that Eileen negotiated for 2 days on, and like you have comps that were, it's a tough neighborhood to comp out because you have comps at 600, you have comps at 530. So what's the real price for this? Is it going to actually appraise? And, they actually got under contract, under list price, but, trying to tell to that agent and that seller, like, hey, look, you have comps in the 530s. You're at 600. Like where are you actually getting your numbers from? And is the seller even realistic? Should we even continue to negotiate here if your seller is not realistic? And they came to a happy medium on that. But I think that, you have unrealistic sellers, and you have a lot of, for the lack of better words, unrealistic buyers, right? Because people hearing that the prices should be coming down, so they're offering a lot less. Right here, you have Bloomberg saying that you're not going to get price relief this year.
Well, you got to keep in mind that it's not necessarily just that people are waiting for the release. For the discounts. You have less buyers in the market, just overall.
Yeah.
Right. So even if there is $100,000 discount, quote unquote, on a house, and even if the comps are good and the sellers are dropping the prices, if they can't afford the monthly payment because of the interest rates, it doesn't matter. And there's only a quarter of buyers that are out there shopping to begin with.
Aaron says, did you guys get a lot of outages in Carmel? I didn't see any. Not since this snow.
Speaking of, I'm glad our lake should be filling up.
Yeah, I want more rain. So Goldman Sachs also went on to say that Goldman Sachs predicts sustained higher mortgage rates through 2024, which is really different than what we heard from a lot of companies, Ian, because remember, a lot of people are saying we're going to be in 6% at the end of the year. We're currently sitting at 7.98 is who is it?
The mortgage.
Yeah, Mortgage Daily News says we went down to 7.9 yesterday, back to 7.98 today. Obviously, the 10-year Treasury has been bouncing back and forth. So, I mean, they're still showing that we're going to see sustained rates, which is way different than what a lot of people pontificated, even ourselves. I mean, we said that, and I did a poll on my channel saying that, hey, do you think rates will be over 8%? And a lot of people are saying 8+, and I didn't even have like a +8, right? I didn't have like an 8.5, 9%. And it was pegged at 8. A lot of people picked 8. Aaron says nothing's really selling in his neighborhood, even with these huge discounts. And that's, I met with an agent that we've had on the channel here in the past today. We had lunch, and he even said the same thing. He has a lot. In fact, I've shot a lot of his listings for my YouTube channel. Speaking of, if you haven't seen my second YouTube channel, go over and check that out. We got some really cool listing videos coming out over there. Really fun stuff on this channel. If you like property tours, it is my name, Premier Home Tours. But what they're saying also with this is that most home borrowers currently, what he was saying is like, yeah, he's getting showings on these high-end listings, still no offers, even price reducing. So you're right. There are a lot of buyers out of the market, and
muted. Jeremy, you muted.
Not really sure where I cut off there, but what that agent said is that he was getting showings but no offers, and which is saying that even the buyers in the market are being really, really picky. So you have some unreluctant sellers, some really picky buyers, and then the other thing is why we have less buyers in the market is Goldman Sachs is saying that most borrowers currently have mortgage rates below market rate, which means they have less incentive to move, further tightening supply. So this is what you're saying, is that there's less buyers. I mean, what are your thoughts, Ian?
Yeah, so you have less buyers, and picky thing. I want to touch on that for a moment. So I had a listing where some buyers put in an offer, and then they sat on it for a day. We were going back and forth. And the next thing you know, they said, sorry, we're not going to buy this house. And I was like, well, why? They said, because they spent some time driving around and they just saw so many other houses that they could choose from. But this ticked all your boxes. Why would you put in an offer if that was the case? It's quite frustrating because the sellers, this is what the sellers have to deal with, is getting these offers and no guarantee that it's going to go anywhere. It's different with it was during the pandemic because you'd get 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 offers. So that you didn't really care if 1 or 2 didn't go anywhere because something would, right? But now if you have sellers that are reducing prices, and then they finally get one, well, they're excited and they're holding on to that. And then if those people walk, now what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's a challenge. It's not easy. I mean, and I don't blame buyers for passing on properties, right? And so that kind of goes back. That kind of goes back to the other thing we were talking about, that 16% of cancellations are happening. And maybe I didn't finish that full thought when I talked about that earlier, but back at the end of the year, we had 16% of homes coming off the market, coming back on the market. And then we're seeing that same amount right now. That doesn't necessarily surprise me that we're seeing that, because there are other options. But just because there are other options, it doesn't mean there's actually other great options. And that's something I'm seeing with some of these homes. Aaron made a really good point here, going back to the not necessarily the commission thing, but talking about why agents would just leave a home priced higher. So Aaron says, I think part of it is that the agents are paid commission. This leads to agents trying to make as much possible per sale. Very true. I don't know that that's. I think agents want a home to sell for sure.
Yeah.
Getting paid $2,000 to $3,000 more is important, but I guess, we also have fiduciary duty to make sure that we're doing right by our clients, because if we're trying to push you to get $2,000 more, but my client actually makes a lot less in the long run, but not most agents look at it that way, then why?
It's not even that.
Yeah.
It's not even that. If the home sits and it doesn't sell, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
Because the agent's not willing to give up. There are very few agents that I've dealt with in Austin, I'll say it that way, that have acted that way that I know of. But that goes for experienced agents. And I'm not dogging agents that aren't very experienced, but I could see that being the case for agents that just don't know and aren't willing to ask for help for pricing their properties. They want to maintain their level of confidence. They need every penny. I could see that happening, but
yeah,
not really for experienced agents.
Dinosaur D kind of summed up what I was trying to say here. Let's say agents make 2%. As an agent, I'd rather get 8% commission for dropping a price of $400K rather than keeping a price of $500 with potential commission, but it not selling. And that's fair. And I think if you look behind the curtain, that's true for agents. Here's a prime example of what Aaron's talking about. So this listing right here, I just took this listing. It's a really great little 2-bedroom, 1-bath in North Austin in the not St. George's. I just closed one on St. George's, but St. John right here.
Oh yeah.
And this is a great listing. We just relisted it. We're getting traction and movement on it. The agent that had this listed had it listed at $494.
Yeah.
And this person came to me and said, "Hey, look, my agent has had this on for the market for a year. It hasn't gone anywhere." I was like, "A year? Are you kidding?" And so we sat down and I actually did a live CMA with her. And we actually looked at the comps, comp by comp by comp. And I literally pulled it up and I showed it to her. I go, let's look at everything around. Let's look at everything. And I wasn't trying to tell her price was wrong. I go, let's just look at the reality where we are. And we went comp by comp by comp. At the bottom, because on the bottom of these listings, I can show you, if you're a client of mine, I can show you how much they gave in concessions, how much they gave in closing costs, everything. And so we went comp by comp by comp. I go, based on all the comps, I go, and I redrew and I tried to pull every comp possible. It wasn't I was trying to hide any comp from her, or, because sometimes if I put together a thing, I go, maybe I'll take these comps off because these comps really don't matter. If a client sees this comp, they're going to think that comp matters when it doesn't. I didn't do that. I just said, here's all the comps. Let's look at all of them. And she goes, yeah, I think it should be listed at 400K. I don't know why we were listed at 494. I just want this thing to sell. I'm like,
man.
Wait, hold on a second. What? She's like, yeah, my agent just told me to price it at 550. And she's like, I told him that's overpriced. Why are we pricing at 550? And they sat on the market for an entire year.
Yeah. It's almost always the other way around.
Yeah.
Where the agent says, this is what you should price it at. And the seller says, no, I want more.
Yeah.
That's almost always the case. So that's really fun, because being able to see the seller concessions, because we have broker agreements, being able to see the thing that people are getting off of the house are a big benefit. So you can see, hey, this house, they gave them $10,000, $20,000 seller concessions. That's why it sold at that price point. That's incredible.
Yeah, I was.
When you're doing a live CMA.
Yeah, I'm going to do that probably from now on. Go to a listing appointment and say, okay, I want to show you the comps, but then let's actually sit down and go through the comps, or I'll bring my laptop and actually go through the comps with them live. But okay, so let's finish this article up about Goldman Sachs. Brett had a good point there. I'll pop back up in a second. So Goldman Sachs prices in 23. Goldman Sachs housing model suggests that home prices, as measured by the Schiller Index, will fall by 0.8% through December. So I've been saying this, that we'll probably see lower prices at the end of the year. But here's the caveat to that. This will result in a year-over-year increase of 3.4% due to a 4.2% increase in home prices. So even though we're going to see a lagging December, we're still going to see home prices overall increase through the end of the year. Did you time out? Are you back?
Can you see me still?
I can hear you. Yeah.
That's really funny. That's RD.
Yeah, dude, I don't. It's not on my end.
No, I know exactly what it is. I was shooting a video earlier, and it's uploading, and so it's uploading on the whole time. And it's it's 4K, 60 FPS, all that sort of stuff. So it's just killing it.
Man, all right.
Shouldn't be an excuse, but that's happening.
So we should talk housing prices in 2024. Goldman Sachs is predicting a modest increase of 1.3 in home prices in 2024. So they're not predicting a huge price increase. So we're going to see basically what they're saying is a pretty level year throughout the market. Ian, we're at 12,000 homes on the market rolling over, getting close to rolling over to 2023. Do you think that we're going to see a sustained 1.3 increase in 2024 in the Austin area? Before you answer that, the supply remains, what it's saying is the supply remains tight, but high mortgage rates are expected to weigh on affordability, leading to a downward a revision from their previous forecast of 1.7%. So do you think markets like Austin has such a high amount of homes on the market right now? We're seeing 400 or 500 homes come off. Those all are going to be relisted next year. Let's be honest. Do you think we're going to have this like 1.5% increase next year?
So we can repeat this over and over, but it's all going to be based, in my opinion, on a few things, but mainly if the interest rate drops, then I could see the number ticking up. But by the time it drops, to increase the activity might be next spring, like Dinosaur D was saying. So April-ish, when people are relisting and getting ready to move on with their lives, summer vacations coming up, they want to get everything sold. That's about when I think you'll start seeing a lot more activity, and that activity will create the prices, drive the prices up a little bit. That's the only thing I can expect with what the information that we have right now.
You know, what's interesting about this is I want to dance lightly when I bring this up, because I
already know.
But we are going into an election year, and the Fed has to do what they have to do to cut this down. Our current president's cutting deals with Venezuela and other countries to get oil prices to come down before the election. So do you think that they will, and that's not me trying to be like a jerk, like we've cut oil production in the US, but we're buying it from dictators, right? And so we're trying to get more oil imported from dictators because of ESG scores. But even Biden during the last election was cutting deals with dictators to get oil production, to get oil prices lower before the election. What backroom deals do you think are going to happen to get interest rates to drop before the election?
BlackRock. I don't know what deals can be made to get the interest rates to drop. I really don't. I don't know.
I mean, that's not me trying to dog on anybody. I mean, it's amazing to me when people get mad when you tell them the facts of the life. But I'm not telling you who to vote for. Vote for whoever you want. All right. So going on to this, the impact on the home buying activity, higher mortgage rates, and lock-in effect. So lock-in effect being like, I have a 3% interest rate, I don't want to move up. We'll expect to reduce home buying activity next year, which is going to hurt the market. Existing home sales are predicted to fall to their lowest levels since the early 1990s due to higher mortgage rates. Housing supply will be limited. Limited housing supply has kept home buyers resilient to higher interest rates. Housing starts were 5% higher than pre-pandemic levels in September 2023, which this is expected to decline by 4% in 2024, mainly due to lower multifamily starts. So this is something we've seen in the Austin area. We had, builders gone wild, right, for the last 2 years. We're starting to see a pullback in builders, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the builders starts are slowing down a little bit, but also they have homes sitting on the market. You have a lot of people that were waiting and hoping that they would get really good deals from builders. And some people they really are. But you still have these buyers that are waiting for even more. It's like, well, what are you waiting for? The buyers that simply couldn't afford it to begin with because expectations need to be tempered for what they're able to get versus what they hoped they were able to get this time last year.
Yeah. So that was supply rent inflation. So when we look at inflation, one of the things that really hampers our inflation. So number one, when they actually pull the CPI data and they look at inflation and they look at rental rates, they do it the worst way possible. Basically, they call people and say, what do you think your home would rent for? How the hell do you know what your home's going to rent for? So they don't actually pull factual data for that. And so that's part of the CPI. And I was talking to somebody about this, Byron Lazine. And I asked Byron, I go, why is it? Because Byron and I have talked, I've had Byron on the channel. Some people loved him, some people hated him. He's very straight to the point, kind of like me. But what he was saying is they think they don't want to change it because then they will say they've been wrong the entire time they've used it. So they'd rather continue to use this method in order to say, oh, we're not wrong, or we weren't wrong. Yeah, so Seattle Michelle says, I don't think politics will affect rates I don't think politics will affect rates as it's all Federal Reserve. They will keep it high until core inflation is back down to 2%. And that's what I agree with, right? But I'm wondering what deals could be cut or what maybe programs they might push at the beginning of the year to get buyers back out there. If we see sales dip, there might be a program like a 1% down program or something they put out there to try to incentivize buyers. It says I bought a property in 2021 and is now down about 50K. I would estimate I will never sell it, but sucks to get it to be about that. I want to go back to this rent inflation thing though. So how they pull the rent inflation is off, right? It's not actually pulling factual data. It's a survey. So here's what they say about rent inflation. Despite the decline in multifamily starts, the bank expects rent inflation to normalize with new lease rent growth rising 3% each year for the next couple of years. And that makes a lot of sense, right, Ian? Because you have buyers who are not buying, they're renting instead. Yeah. This is due to the expected demand holding up even with increased rental vacancies. So you're just going to see a higher demand in this.
The thing is, in Austin, there are a lot of new multifamily starts, and they're even talking about the zoning changes, right? That goes on the dock tomorrow, is it? For voting for increased multifamily options. Like that's huge. So right now, nationally, you might see the rents increase, but in Austin, you have a lot of people working on building up opportunities for rentals, a lot of new rentals showing up on the market.
Yeah. So Morgan Stanley contrast forecast says Morgan Stanley, in contrast to Goldman Sachs, recently forecasted a rise in home prices of up to 5% this year, having previously expected a fall in home prices in 2023 and 2024. Their note also suggests 5% growth in inventory alongside no increase in sales could lead up to a 5% fall in home prices in 2024. So Morgan Stanley basically saying we're going to see 5% decrease going into 2024. Interesting. I don't know how much we'll see of a decrease again if you continue to have less sellers in the market overall, Austin being the oddball out there. You could see just prices stay flat all of next year. I mean, you're going to see moderate increases and moderate decreases, but I'd say overall, it's just going to do one of these things and end up flat. I mean, do you think that we'll see a 5% decrease? I mean, if we see a decrease in Austin next year, how big do you think it'll be, and how much increase in interest rates will we be, Ian?
Yeah, that's a real good question. I think it was mentioned a couple times in the comments. I think the jobs are going to be a big factor on that, because people, and Dinosaur D was talking about, as long as people can afford they won't sell. But if their jobs are gone, they won't be able to afford the payments, and so then they will sell. That's how it's always worked, right? And it could be that, but it also could be the standard cost of living, and a big one that a lot of people aren't paying attention to right now is daycare. The cost of daycare is just absurd, and so you have all these people that had kids during the pandemic. All these people that had extra kids during the pandemic, and now if you have any kind of job loss, it all increases your cost of living. So it's going to be interesting. I've heard them called the 5 Ds: diapers, divorce, debt, and a couple others. I forget what the other 2 Ds are, but people will move because they need to move. Now, that doesn't, people aren't moving this year because they are excited, just because they're sitting there, there's opportunities all over the place, and the interest rates are low. They're moving because they have to, which is a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, in real estate, when I'm looking at expenses and what we're doing, like, I'm a lot more careful about who we're hiring moving into. The other thing is that the people I'm hiring, I'm not offering them, like last year I was offering assistant pay over 60 grand a year. I'm not going to do that next year. Like, I'm going to try to pick up an employee a lot cheaper than I did this last year. And that's unfortunate for them, but I mean, I got to be careful of my costs as a business owner as well. Diapers, divorce, debt, dial-up. I love it. All right, Dean, I want to get your take on the full rundown of this. So for future home buyers in 2024, home buying should expect to sustain higher mortgage rates in 2024, making affordability a critical consideration, which we'll probably see potentially more people rent instead of buy. So if you're an investor like Aaron, you're going to have tenants. A slowdown in home price growth might offer some relief to buyers, but the overall affordability challenges is expected to persist, especially in Austin. What is something we see a lot of in Austin that's really high for homeowners, Ian?
Property taxes.
And property tax bills are coming out this month. I'm going to
hear
a lot of complaints from people. And so I want you, when you get your property bill, come back on the live stream, and I want you to talk about, did they go up? Did they go down? Did the rates go up, go down? The lock-in effect due to higher mortgage rates may limit the incentive for homeowners to sell. And look, we might have homeowners that just say, hey, I was going to sell my home in 2024, but the market doesn't look like it's going to do anything. So I'm just going to wait a whole nother year until 2025. So we could see less inventory for that.
Oh, yeah.
Buyers may face challenging market with limited options and potential declines in existing home sales. So this is kind of like the brief overview of what you're going to see as buyers. Now, sellers, so this is important because you and I both work with a lot of sellers and buyers. Ian, home sellers may experience less activity. Yes, seeing that now in the housing market as buyers grapple with higher mortgage rates and reduced affordability. Secondly, the current tight supply conditions may persist, providing sellers with some leverage in negotiations. So that might help some sellers, maybe not in Austin, and is essential to sellers to remain realistic by price. Okay, this is the important one. It is essential for sellers to remain realistic about price and giving the expectations of slowdown in the housing market. These trends highlight the importance of staying informed about the real estate market and working closely with a realtor to navigate evolving landscapes. Thank you, ChatGPT, for putting that together for me.
I like that they said evolving landscape. You got to keep it positive, you know?
That's funny. I'm glad.
It's so interesting. They're talking about when we were talking about the buyers, effect due to higher mortgage rates, sellers not wanting to sell because they have a really solid mortgage rate. They don't want to buy and let go of that mortgage rate. Plus, it's no different than the buyers that have been waiting on the sidelines. They're like, I'm going to wait for the prices to drop. I'm going to wait for the prices to drop. Now that the prices have been dropping, they still haven't made a move. It's the same thing here. Sellers were, I'll put it on the market. I'll put it on the market. I'm going to hold out a little bit. And they held out. Now they're still not putting it on the market, or they are, and it's sitting on the market. It's rough.
Yeah, I like this comment by FlowRid55.
Flowrider.
I'm a big Patrick Bet-David fan.
Yeah,
if I were you, I would not take any of his real estate advice seriously.
He's an insurance guy, though.
Yeah, he's an insurance guy. Just because he's smart with business doesn't mean he's smart with real estate and understand how it works. This is not me saying anything bad about him. When I listened to his take on real estate in the past, I was like, ooh, this guy is not even close. Because he said he read a headline and they did a whole spiel about the fact that we were seeing a huge increase in foreclosure. Well, the caveat to that article, the bottom was, well, we're not, because this is just the increase of what we would have seen because of COVID took away those. So what he's saying here, and so that was one of the things that I saw. There was several other things that he's talked about in the real estate market that are wrong. Cabo, shut up! Sorry, my dog will shut up. Patrick Bet-David said a play for some could be for people to sell now, then rent for a couple of years, then buy when prices are lower. If you're at a 2, 3, 4% interest rate, I would not take this.
Yeah, advice. That's not a good idea.
I would not take this advice.
I like Aaron's response to that.
If you're 5, 6%, like if you're rate sensitive, yes. If you're in a position you have to sell, fine, sell. But this is not, and I would have to see the full context of what he said in this video, but I would not take that advice. And that's not, and look, if you listen to the advice and you sell with me, I make money.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, Ian? If somebody listens to this advice and they say, Jeremy, I'm going to sell and I'm buy back in 2 years, I sell homes for a living. I am telling you that is probably not the best strategy. We should probably sit down and look at your strategy and what your strategy is. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Okay. It's if you, like you said, if you have to sell, if you're getting divorced and you want to separate assets or something, that's a different situation. I'm going through 2 of those right now. So I get that, but in most cases, to sell, to be a rent, I think Aaron said you'd have to hope that it goes down another 10%, and that's just a guess, right? So I don't think that's advice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch his thing and
so here, great. While we're talking about it, there is one caveat to that. If you just bought the house and you know that you paid high 2022 or high 2023 prices or high 2022 prices, and you're now upside down, it's going to be hard for you to get the money back anyway, right? But that could be a conversation, right? If you just lost your job and you just bought that house and you're currently upside down, you're in a world of a situation, you have to.
Yeah.
Might be better than a foreclosure though.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good play for
95% of people.
So that's where I think Patrick Bet-David doesn't understand, is because Patrick Bet-David right now is trying to play stock market with housing. That's not how it works. The longer you're in on housing, the more money you make, and there's so many stats to show that. So I would say you're better off if you are in the market to buy. Figure out some things you can do to get a lower interest rate, negotiate the price down if you're in the market to buy. If you're considering selling right now, I would say weigh your options. What are your options? Fully understand what the costs to sell are going to be. Fully understand what you actually are going to get for your home, because those two things are going to make up a big difference. Because you could spend 4 months on the market and not get what you thought you were going to get because you heard Patrick Bet-David say to sell now, and then you're going to make even less money. Well, you could wait till January, potentially make more money depending on your strategy. So a strategy is important, and you've got to have a good strategy. Aaron says, I think prices will go down 10 to 20%, but wouldn't gamble my living situation over it.
Yeah, that's a really important point. You're used to a yard, maybe a couple extra rooms. You got to drop down to a 2-bedroom apartment. Maybe rent a house. You could probably rent a house.
Thank you. I will do a reaction video to this. I think this is something I'd like to get full context of this. But if you're, what is the incentive for someone like Patrick Bet-David to tell you to go sell?
I mean, he gets insurance policies every time people move or buy something.
No, he sold his company.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he doesn't own the insurance company anymore. He sold it.
I mean, I would imagine that he owns.
It's clicks. This gets clicks.
Clicks is one of them. Yeah.
That's what Patrick talks about mostly, is fear porn, right? It's just fear porn clicks.
You think it's that simple? You think it's just for clicks? You think it's that simple?
Yeah, I'm going to make a website called Fear Porn.
It's a good
one. Then it's just going to be like all the news articles.
There you go. Like Aaron said, he's buying puts on the market.
I'm going to take all the Reventure stuff, all the headlines that I post just to get views on videos, and then I say the opposite. I'm going to put all those out there. Just
and you got to retarget them.
Fearporn.com, TM, trademark. Yeah, Florida, thank you for putting that up there. I hope you didn't think I was like getting upset with you personally. I thank you for posting that. I would love to do a reaction video on that, actually. I would love to watch the video to get full context and then do a reaction video to it. I think next year, February, March will be a great time to get bargains. Look for dense areas like Carmel in Pflugerville, or areas have dial-up internet only, like Ian's house. Yeah, you can't really buy puts on housing, though. I mean, that's just not buying housing. But I see what you're saying, Aaron. That makes sense.
That's funny.
Is there something else I can help with?
No, Siri.
No, Siri.
Be quiet.
Hey, Siri, what's the weather like tomorrow?
Yeah, everybody's like yelling into the computer. Hey, yes, Siri.
Will hover around 81.
So stupid.
I think low point in the next 12 months would be February, March. But when student loans are forced in October 24, boom, there will be where it gets juicy. Yeah, I'm curious to see how this all works in 2024. We are in a looming recession and
election.
So I'm curious to see how this sways the election. Not that I'm putting money on any candidate. I'm just saying I'm curious, because this is like, think about it, like all the pundits over the next 12 months, they're going to find something to dig dirt on any candidate, right? So how are they going to use, like, how is the right, how is the left, how are either one going to use this to get their advantage? I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what happens, because here's the crazy thing about real estate. Election years have always been terrible years. 16 was a terrible year in real estate for me. 20 wasn't the greatest. It was great. It ended up being great because of the pandemic, but 20 wasn't the greatest. So I'm curious to see how 2024 is. I'm already hedging my bets to have a lower year next year. It's like I'm already forecasting lower. I'm changing up our pricing strategies on things. So, you know, grads exiting. Yeah.
Yeah, he was asking if there are any students in the housing market, and I'm like, listen, I've got a client right now that's buying a house for her students. That's if you can do that as a parent.
Yeah, I mean, seriously,
because that's the move, right?
The best thing parents could have, if you think about it, almost the best thing for parents to do, and I'm a parent of an 11-year-old, is instead of paying for their college, to buy them a house.
Yes, 100%.
I'm not telling you to go do that, but I'm just saying, like I look at what my dollar gets me for school, how much my kid will make outside of school, and I'd rather teach him just to be an entrepreneur and come up with ideas and come up with business ideas and strategies versus actually going to college, because I feel like he would probably do better without college and wasting 4 years. Not that I wasted 4 years, but I wish I would have just focused on business school. But colleges aren't set up that way, right? Like you have to take all these classes that don't make sense to your major. So interesting. Unless you're Aaron and just do IT, which I'm just kidding. I don't know what Aaron did. Let me rephrase. What percent of buyers are kids 1 to 5 years out of college? 1 to 5 years out of college. So that puts you 20. Well, the median buying age is around 33. I imagine 33. When the stats come out, it'll be closer to 35, 36.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you also got to think about what region, because it varies wildly in Austin versus some of these other places.
Cybersecurity, IT. Hey, cybersecurity is good, man. But I'm a tech guy. That's funny. That's funny. Let's see. I think jobs will determine the low. If corporations keep guiding down on scale and income, more layoffs will come. I agree. If some families are upside down, it will be hell. And that's a tough part about where we're going, being in a recession, right? Like I'm already looking at what, as a business owner, what I'm paying for things, and I got to get the most amount out of what I pay. Am I getting the most out of what I pay?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of tightness, and so you're right. We could see. I think it's going to be a balancing act. You're going to have people that need to sell, that have to sell. So does that cause foreclosures, which we could see? Does that mean people that waited to buy now can buy foreclosures? That's yet to be seen. Are there going to be a lot of more layoffs? Ian, you talked about last time there's a lot of layoffs coming in the Austin area. Tech job postings are down 50% year over year. So a lot of these companies are trimming the fat. But if you think about why these companies are trimming the fat, is because the Fed rate is so high that the interest on their money, when you have zero interest on your money, which was during the Trump administration, I'm not saying that's a positive or negative. I'm just saying it was at 0%. And then we had to move it up because we were at zero too long. You had all these companies with free cash virtually. Now these companies have a lot harder time getting flow of cash. So they have to lay people off. And so that's what we're seeing. So interesting. I agree with you, Seattle Michelle. Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
Specifically, if the families are upside down.
Yeah.
It's either foreclosures or short sales or something. And it's gonna hurt. I say hurt. It's gonna hurt a lot of places in the United States. I think Austin is one of those places, as shown through history. It'll absorb most of it. That doesn't mean it'll have a wonderful growth year, but it'll absorb most of it. Dinosaur D's fishing.
Yeah. Let me see if I have this chart. Let's see if it charts itself. It's been charting. It's in my Google Drive. So I've been charting the Austin numbers, as you all know, because I put them out here. I've been charting them, and there's a specific chart I made that literally showed every month over the last 3 years. Let me see if it'll pull up. Oh, perfect. check this out. If you're ever going to screen grab something, screen grab this. You hear me? You hear me? You ready? If you're ready to screen grab, this is where I want you to screen grab. And then I want you to send this to everybody and tell them Jeremy Knight made this for me. Jeremy Knight's the best. Ian of Austin, the two of them are the real deal. Here we go. So I've been charting since, this is 2019. Does it tell you? This is January 2019. Our median price in, this is for the Austin stats, was at 335. We are at 530. Oh, wait, that's the end of last year. I think that's the end of last year. No, Jeremy's not as cool as he thought he was. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Oh. No, yeah. It only goes through February. I wonder why it stopped in February. Or is it just not enough data? So, all right. So if you were to follow this, all right, I'll make this easy on you. So if you were to follow this from January 2019 till now, our prices right now this month are at 536. Okay, so 536. So if you're going to show the chart I just showed you, where'd you go? You're going to go off of this chart that I showed you here. Come on now. Where'd I go? There we go. We're barely over this number 530. Okay. So this is still a good representation. The number should be right here next to this line. So we're at 536 now for the median. Over 5 years, we've gone from 553 as a median to 536. That is a less than $200,000 increase. But over that 4-year time frame, if you do the math, that increases what? It increase ends up being what year over year? I can't mathematically do that in my brain. That's 5 years, 200. Let's see. I'm going to do math wrong, man. Minus 353. It's 183 divided by 5 years. That's $36,000 a year increase since 2019. I wonder what percent increase that is over 5 years, over year over year. So we went 36 on average, 36%, 36,000. So, I mean, you're still looking at what, 8 or 9% increase year over year since the 2019. So it's still, I mean, look at the peak here, 2023 to here, 667. We're down a lot. I mean, yeah. So if the comments can figure the math for me. Yes, I answered D, but want to move back. I lived in Round Rock for 15 years. And she's moving to Spicewood. She agrees south is better than north. Southwest.
No, she just has land there.
Still, it's
not a choice at that point.
She owns a piece of Texas. On ice, what's the market doing in Seattle? Is it favorable for you to sell there and buy back into the market? She says it's slowing here, but not as quickly in Austin. Still a lot of wealth there. Yeah, I'm wrestling with the decision to sell here and just rent it out, or just rent it out.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of wealth in Austin too. It's just,
yeah,
people are having a hard time making that decision.
I think Austin's going to go through. Austin's going to go through its early teenage years.
Puberty.
I think.
I love it.
Because here's the problem: is Austin has been, like, so I look at my 11-year-old and he goes through these crazy growth spurts, and right before he grows, he either gets really like chunky and chubby, and he gets awkward, and the next thing he grows up 4 or 5 inches, and then he's all gangly and doesn't know what to do with his body anymore, right? As soon as he like figures out his body, he has a growth spurt. I think that's what Austin's going through right now. It's going through this really weird growth spurt where we were forced to, we've been fighting the growth for so many years, and now we're doing all this growth, and yet people are like, well, Austin's not cool anymore. And so now people are leaving, tech jobs are running out.
Mhm.
So Austin's going to go through this weird phase where it's like, okay, well, do we continue to grow or do we let people move here first?
Are
And I
you
think you're going to see a lot of just weirdness. I mean, what do you
saying
think?
Austin's going through an identity crisis?
I think Austin's going through an identity crisis.
Isn't that what Austin was before the pandemic?
No, Austin was cool
That's
before the pandemic.
That's what made it cool. Is that it was weird. You just said weird, right? Everything was a little quirky and still trying to figure stuff out, and it didn't want to be big, be small. I mean, it was all of it. Yeah, it's a little more so now. I think it's a bigger identity crisis.
I think there's a bigger identity, and it's going to go through.
More people know about it.
You know, what's interesting. What I find interesting about Austin is, 2019, 2021, it was the cool thing. Everybody was moving to Austin. My phone rang. Everybody wanted to move to Austin. 2022, everybody decided they hated Austin. They didn't like all of, and I've been saying all the same things for 3 years straight. Here's the reasons you won't like Austin. Here's the reasons you will like Austin. I was honest with people. And all of a sudden people just were like, all right, yep. It's disgusting. It's gross. I don't want to live here. Homelessness, whatever. And I'm like, but I've been saying this for 3-4 years. And now Austin is this pariah, right? It's, I hear so many people that want to leave because of politics. I hear so many people for both sides want to leave. And it's crazy to me how Austin went from being the cool city to being the uncool city. Everybody's going to Nashville now. Everybody's going to Raleigh. Are those cities going to be like the ones that people hate in a couple of years? Because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And if the tech jobs are drying up and they're going to keep pushing forward there? No. Yeah, that's really funny. That's really good.
The comment of the day goes to Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Seattle Michelle, everybody. The best comment of the day.
She wins the internet tonight.
Yeah, it needs a strong, healthy steroid, is what she's saying. Dude, they're putting me on more steroids and I cannot deal with it. Like, the steroids are freaking terrible. Like,
go to the gym, work it out. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I go to the gym looking like this. People are gonna be like, "What the heck's wrong with this guy?"
It just won't touch anything. You have the whole gym to yourself. It's great.
Oh yeah, everybody next to me. I'll just do this and like scratch my head and be like, on the weights.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Dinosaur D. I moved in 2018, just before the boom. It was awesome with a decent cost of living. Yeah, so basically, I found out I have an allergic reaction to amoxicillin, and they just were deciding to pump me full of steroids. This stuff itches so bad. I want to scratch it. Look, it's all over. It doesn't stop. It looks like I have chicken pox. It's on my back. It's on my feet. And the only thing they can really do is give me more steroids, which, like, the weird thing is, like, when you take them in the morning, like, I feel like foggy and my brain hurts and I just feel terrible. Like, I just don't feel good at all. And then halfway through the day, I start craving alcohol, which I haven't drank in a long time. So to crave alcohol is really strange to me. I'm not going to drink. I refuse to drink. So, like, just imagine, like, wanting to crave alcohol all day. And, like, then just wanting to eat everything in sight after losing 50 pounds and not drinking for 6 months. Now I want to just go smash a pizza and drink a pint of alcohol. It's not fun. I don't like the steroids, and they're going to make me take more. And there's steroids. It will make your junk shrink. Mrs. Knight won't appreciate it. I know, man. Well, she doesn't appreciate this. I mean, how sexy do you think this? It's not.
Oh, put it away.
I know, bro.
Oh my gosh, wear a tank top. Wear a tank top to the gym.
Yeah.
One of those netted ones.
Shirtless to the
Wear a
gym.
netted one.
Yeah. All right, Ian. What's the last word, man?
If you have cash, buy a house. if you need a house, You better think long and hard, but now's a good chance for you to get something. Ask the sellers for not everything, but ask the sellers to do something. And if you're going to buy, this is actually really important. If you're going to buy a house, it makes a lot more sense. Instead of reducing the sales price, it generally makes more sense to have the sellers give you credit to buy down the interest rate. You end up saving more money if monthly payment is relevant to you. That's a real nugget.
Yeah, I do that. I'm going to cut that into a reel, but nobody will see the reel because they can't see your face. So
it's going to be nice and smooth in a little bit.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, do me a favor. Go over to my second channel. I'm really trying to get this thing off the ground. So I appreciate if you did this. Go over there. If you're into channels like this, subscribe. If this is something you will never watch and you hate property tour videos or you hate looking at my face, either way, then don't. But go over and just do me a favor, write a comment on a video, let it run through all the way so the watch time goes up. I would really appreciate that. I'm putting in about 15 hours a week into this channel, which is a lot, about 15 hours a week into this channel, plus running a real estate company, plus selling homes. So I really appreciate that if you did that. And then also follow Ian on Instagram. He does lots of cool backflips. Don't forget about that. And follow me on Instagram. It's fun on there. We'll see you next week.
See y'all.